Be honest with me. Has anyone ever told you that you need to bring meditation into your life? And the minute they do, you have that internal eye roll. That's always been my experience. I have been told about meditation time and time again. I believe in it. I understand the benefits of it. But every time I set foot into a meditation practice, I kind of fall flat on my face because I can't stop the distractions. Now, here's what you're not expecting. I am not about to tell you that I have a guest for you that's going to change your mind about meditation. What I have to offer you today is amazing because it's an alternative solution that actually has proven better benefits than traditional meditation. And it's something that if you are wired like me, where you like someone where there's a how-to, you can do it in small amounts of time and reap instant benefits, you do not want to miss this episode, and you are going to fall in love with Samantha and what she is about to share. So let's go ahead and jump in. Hey everyone, welcome back to Work-Life Harmony podcast. I have been kind of giddy all morning waiting to have this conversation with our new guest, Samantha Skelly, here today. And I'm going to let her introduce herself in a minute. But here's what I'm really excited to learn. I have shared very openly that, one of the things I'm trying to bring into my practice is get better about journaling, get better about meditation. I understand the benefits, but man, meditation is something that I continually tell myself is really hard. My mind wanders. I feel like I'm, quote, doing it wrong, all that stuff. So Samantha is going to be talking to us about an alternative that I believe I've read has even better benefits. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So welcome to the show, Samantha. I am so excited you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So why don't you introduce yourself, tell everyone a little bit about the work that you do and kind of how you got into it, because I'm fascinated by it.
I grew up as a dancer and a child actress. So my entire life I was on a stage in front of a camera. And because of the nature of that work, there was a lot of body image stuff that I developed, a lot of anxiety that I developed. Like I was living in this sort of low grade anxious state for my entire life, and I didn't actually realize it. And so I got to about like 18, 19, and I realized like, wow, my levels of anxiety are like beginning to get so high, like to the point where I would wake up in the morning and my heart would be beating. I would be like feeling so anxious for no like reason, quote unquote, but my body, the experience of my body was so intense. And so I began doing talk therapy and cognitive behavioral change and all of these sort of more like mindset type of modalities and therapies. And it scratched the surface, but my body was still in the state of anxiety and overwhelm.
That's really interesting because I don't think people, and I hadn't really thought about it before, we can have a disconnect with the mental and the physical,
yeah.
I think. But I think we expect that the mindset work will have a direct impact on the physical.
Totally. Like my experience of that time was I was consuming all of this information and consuming all of this knowledge about how to feel better, but it wasn't integrating into my body. And so I knew better, but nothing was changing. And so in order to feel better, we have to be better feelers. We actually have to feel our emotionality and feel what's arising. And for so many years of my life, I was kind of like running from it, or like, I don't want to feel that. And so I was reading the book Eat, Pray, Love by Liz Gilbert.
Love that. And I love her. Oh my goodness.
I love her. Like,
yes,
she's amazing. And she talked about going to Bali and finding this medicine man. And there was something in my intuition when I was reading that chapter. I'm like, I got to go there. I got to go there. I got to find this guy. I got to have this breakthrough. Like, I'm going. So I remember calling my mom, just being like, I'm going to book a one-way ticket to Bali. She's like, for what? I'm like, I'm going to find this guy in this book. And she's like, okay. I was like 20 at the time. And so I booked a session with this guy from the Eat, Pray, Love book. And after my session, he just looks at me and he goes, you think too much. Your brain is so busy. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like ADHD, hyper creative, super sensitive. I know, dude. Like, I know.
And let's face it. I think probably almost every woman listening to this can probably relate to the you think too much, right? Like I want an off switch for my brain sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we're overthinkers and underfeelers. It's like we shut off
Mm.
our emotions and our intuitions and we overthink and it drives us crazy. And so that's basically what I did for most of my life up until 20. And then so he's like, you think too much. He's like, go meditate. And I was like, I hate meditation so much. Like I had a really bad eating disorder at this time. I had so much anxiety. My brain was constantly on overdrive. Sitting, doing nothing, feeling my emotions was excruciating. I'm like,
Now, did
there's
that trigger
no way.
anxiety for you? Because I'm not one that typically has reoccurring anxiety, but I find meditating makes me feel anxious because I can't shut down all the things I would like to be doing
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah. At that point in time, I was like, oh no. I'm like, did I fly all the way here for you to tell me to do the one thing that I hate doing? So he said, there's a meditation school down the road. I was like driving this little scooter. He's like, go take your scooter and go take a class. I'm like, so I get on my scooter. I go to this meditation yoga studio. It's called Yoga Barn in Ubud, for those of you guys who've been there. And there was actually no meditation class at the time, but there was a breathwork class. And I look at the time of that breathwork class and it was 3 hours. And I'm like, what?
Breath work for 3
I
hours?
right? I was like, I've been breathing for 20 years, but like 3 hours of intentional and conscious breathing, crazy. But again, it was like that internal voice inside of me was like, you should probably go do this. And so I go and do this class. I walk in the door. I open the door and there's this guy there. He's dressed all in white. He looks like Jesus, got this big long beard. He's actually a friend of mine today, which is wild story, but yeah. And he's this like beautiful breath worker who just has been in the work for so long. And he looks at me and he goes, "You're about to go on the ride of your life." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You are going to experience the entire range of emotion." He's like, "You're going to feel the highest states of joy and bliss and ecstasy and happiness and fulfillment. And you are going to release and let go of anything in your body that you're holding on to, any sadness, any fear, any worry." And I looked at him and I was like, "Dude, I can feel anxious and I can feel numb. That's about it." This is a tall order. So I was like, I'm just going to give it a shot. So he started teaching the breath pattern and it was into the belly, up into the chest, out through the mouth, and just like circulating that breath over and over and over again. And within 3 minutes, that off switch that we want, right? Happened. I was like, I'm not thinking anymore. And I felt this electricity ripple through my body, this just aliveness ripple through my body. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. There's this light, there's this energy, there's this power. I felt my heart like open for the first time in my whole life. I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. I was just like, this is a gift. Like, what the heck? And that 3 hours felt like 15 minutes because time kind of collapsed. And I woke up from that experience and I was like, why does the whole world not know we can do this?
So I think people hear, like I've heard people talk about, oh, breath work or, oh, always start something with deep breaths. What does breath work really mean? What does it entail?
So breath work is actually a form of meditation, right? So if meditation is like the passive sitting down, closing your eyes, watching your thoughts, trying not to go crazy, that's like a very passive practice. Breath work is a form of meditation, but it's an active practice. So we're actually there's an act of doing something, and in that doing something, we get to the end result, but it's quicker and more effective because here's what happens when we are breathing in a very conscious, continual way. What it's doing is it's stimulating the amygdala. The amygdala is our center for emotional control. It's also where our survival strategies live, right? So we're basically mitigating the response of the survival strategies. That's the part where it's like my brain feels like it's shutting off. Because what's all the talk in our brain all day long? It's our survival strategies going like, oh my God, don't do this. Don't forget about this. Get this Christmas thing. Like it's that, right?
It's like mild fight, flight, or freeze kind of mode. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like the things that we're so concerned about, the conversation in our head is so irrelevant. It's not like right now things that are causing us to be in suffering or pain. It's like all about worrying about the future, right? That's what survival is. Like that mechanism in our brain, the amygdala is like, I'm going to make sure that you don't die. And back in the day when we lived in caves and there is, tigers around, that was useful. But now
it's doing its job, right? It's what it's
doing its
designed
job,
to do.
but it's over functioning in today's reality. So it's like we get an email from a client and then that part of our brain goes, you're going to die. You should probably just burn everything down and go like work at State Farm Insurance.
We've all gotten that email. I know that email.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah, we've all gotten that email. It's been like I'm relating this to a female entrepreneur, or if you work at State Farm Insurance, maybe it's your boss saying like, hey, you're not doing good enough, whatever it is, right? And it's like, you're dead. You're going to die. This is going to kill you. And so that kicks up all of this anxiety, all of this fear, all of this worry. And we're then viewing life through the lens of our survival strategies. And we can't think straight because we don't have access to our clear mind because we're constantly in fear mind. And so what the breath does is it mitigates that response and it helps us see life clearly. And that first breathwork session I did was 3 hours. It was amazing. But in order to get the result that I'm speaking to at the moment, go 3 minutes of that breath with a top hold.
You say with a top hold. Can you kind of spell out what people can do? Okay.
So I'm going to break down the breath for you guys because I want to give you something like really tangible that you can do today when you feel that stress response coming on or that anxiety coming on. So the breath pattern is called the tri-active breath because it's active and it's in a 3-part, right? So we breathe into the belly through the mouth, up into the chest, out through the mouth. That exhale needs to be longer than the 2 inhales because what that does is it stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is our rest and digest. It's the like calm, relaxed. It's like, when you see tigers in the wild and they're just in the sun and their bellies are just slowly going up and down and they're just like resting and chilling.
Look at my dogs do that.
Yeah, totally.
Like, that looks so nice.
You're like, why can't I be as chill as you, Bentley? Yeah. Right. So up and down. And then after 3 minutes, like literally just set a timer on your iPhone. When you hit 3 minutes, take a deep breath in through the nose. And pull the breath all the way up. And if you can, kind of like squeeze the body, like engage the muscles a little bit and hold as much as you can. And then when your body says release, just release the breath. And you'll notice a significant change in your energy, your view, your anxiety, everything. And just
now, when we release that last one, is it through the nose or mouth, or does it matter?
No, through the mouth. So the amount of relaxation just from 3 minutes is pretty extraordinary. So there's 2 types of breath work. There's breath work for relaxation and there's breath work for transformation. So breath work for relaxation is basically continual conscious breath that's under 8 minutes.
So like the pattern you just gave us.
The pattern I just gave.
Okay.
But the timing matters when it comes to like the zone that we're in. So meditative is under 8 minutes. Breath work for relaxation is under 8 minutes. That's when we're still sort of in our conscious mind. We're present. We can do it while we're washing dishes or at our computer or whatever it is. After 8 minutes, we enter a zone called breathwork for transformation. Now, in that zone where the response of the amygdala is suppressed even more, and then we go into a different zone, I recommend doing this type of breathwork lying down, ideally with a facilitator. I like even myself, I've been doing breathwork for 15 years and I love doing it with a facilitator. It's just so healing and so beautiful. And you can do it on Zoom and all sorts of things. But after that 8 minutes, then the body just completely goes into an altered state of consciousness. And that's when we can really begin to do some of like the deeper trauma healing, releasing, the stuck energy that's in our body. Like every single one of us, if we're human, we have like micro traumas that have occurred throughout our life or big ones. And if we don't release that energy, it's just stored in our system. It's stored in our body. We're essentially emotionally constipated. And the breath allows us to like release some of that energy so that we can feel more of ourselves.
Wow. Now let me ask you with the one that's under the 8 minutes, you mentioned like, doing this while you're washing dishes. I mean, is this something you could do on like a walk or should you try to be still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like under 3 minutes or like in that 3 minute range, you can do it while you're on a walk. You can never do breathwork driving. Never do it when you're in water. That's my two.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, because you're just so relaxed in the water, even.
You just never know what can happen.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. Fascinating.
You're in a bath and doing it, and like you get. I don't know. I just like I'm like don't do it. Like there's some classes that I've taken where in a pool and you're on an air mattress and it's facilitated and it's very safe and that you have like that feeling of like the water and the breath. It's pretty cool. But if you're doing it by yourself and you're not being facilitated, I just don't recommend that. And then when you're driving, like don't do it when you're driving. Like I've tested the waters while driving and just I don't recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, probably the same thing. You wouldn't want to meditate while driving either. Let's stay focused on the task at hand.
Let's see exactly.
What I love about this is I think I know for a fact there are other women out there like myself, because I hear them, I talk to them, where it's like, I believe in the benefits of meditation.
Yeah.
And I hate using limiting words such as like, but I just can't do that. But I mean, I'm going to be honest, every time I try a meditation practice, it fizzles quick because by the end of it, I don't feel like I'm experiencing the benefits I know others do because I can't shut off I just want to get into action. Now, I will say if I do it at the end of the day, I have much better success because I'm not feeling like I wake up with energy and ready to go. But I love this even at the beginning of a day because I'm like, it's a process. My brain is focusing on the process. Like I can imagine me thinking, okay, let's go through the 3 and out. So my mind's not wandering. It's an actual like to do, not just sit quiet. And I mean, 3 minutes, even I can go, I can give 3 minutes to help do that.
If you're like, hey, I'm going to try this meditation thing out again, do it on the back end breath work. Because after you do that 3 minutes or 8 minutes or whatever it is, you're not fighting your mind. Your mind's already offline. So you're just in your body. So the meditation practice is longer, deeper, richer, and more effective. So sometimes I'll do 20 minutes straight breath work with no meditation at the end. Sometimes I'll do 3 minutes of breath work and then finish it off with 15 minutes of meditation or whatever. I mix it up just depending on like what my body needs for that day. But if I am going from working and like in a P&L, talking to my team, doing something, I've got a million things on my brain. I'm like, what am I going to cook tonight? Oh my goodness, I need to get my car washed. Shoot, I need to take that thing to the blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, let's meditate. There's no way. Like the amount of filtering I need to get through all of those things.
Well, plus that just feels like another to-do on your list, right? Oh, now I have that. Now I need to meditate. Now I need to do this. Yeah.
That's it.
Now, I know a lot of listeners are probably familiar with my 3-step ditch the overwhelm process that I teach. That is, I always am on the tactical, pragmatic, like stuff side of things. But I am seeing, I am already really excited to maybe shift this to a 4-step ditch the overwhelm process. That step 1 is do this 3 minutes.
Yes.
And now go to my traditional step 1 of now let's get out the Post-it notes. Then, because I can even see how much mental calmness and energy shift could happen before we then go, okay, let's get tactical and figure out how we get back into action here when we're not in a hyper anxious place.
For sure. And it makes the action so much more productive. When we are taking action from a place of overwhelm, when we're taking action from a place of fear or whatever it is, the outcome is not good. Like when I'm on a leadership meeting and maybe the previous month, the numbers were down and I'm feeling stressed and I'm feeling anxious and I'm trying to problem solve and I'm in that state, nothing good comes out of my mouth. Right? But if I take 3 minutes and I release the stress, I release the overwhelm, I got back into my body, I got back into my heart, my come from, like where my thoughts are coming from, where my energy is coming from, it's just a different place. It's a more embodied place. And so the creativity that comes from that place is way better. The problem solving is way better. I'm in a very clear mind. It's just the ripple effect of releasing the anxiety and really being mindful of where your behaviors are coming from changes everything, right? It's like your partner, right? They can say the same sentence to you, but if it comes from a place of like frustration or it comes from a place of love, it has a completely different impact.
Yeah. And even your mental state at the time something is said to you can be received in two totally.
Completely.
I mean, I was not mom of the year last night. And I was just sharing this with a friend because I was like, my daughter asked me a very simple request at the end of the evening last night. And I lost it because I'm like, oh my gosh, like one more thing. Yeah. If that same question had been asked of me at 8 o'clock in the morning, it would have been no big deal.
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
where my head was in a completely different place because it was the end of
Totally.
the day and my
Totally.
reaction and response to it.
We're creating reality with our thoughts and with our energy all day long. And so the thing that I love about breath work is I can shift my reality in real time. I don't have to wait for the thing to happen. I don't have to wait for the numbers to go up. I don't have to wait for that employee to perform better. I don't have to wait for my husband to whatever, fill in the blank. It's like I'm the one responsible for that. And if I notice, like, I can get like just this feeling of like agitation in my system where like, oh, here's what it is. It's patience. Like
I
I'm
was
not,
just gonna say, for me, it's
yeah,
when my patience starts running real thin.
yes. Breath work helps me be more patient because my pacing through life is quite quick as it is yours. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners, right? Because it's like we're high achievers. We're like, let's freaking go. So my patience is quite low because my quick start is very high. And so I have like my edge in this life is to be more patient with my husband, more patient with my team members. Cause I'm like, wait, you guys, Rome was built in a day. Like, let's go. And we can do this by 6 p.m. Like, I don't know what you're farting around. And so that's my work right now is like learning patience. And I do that through breath because the breath is in the present moment. And so when I breathe, it's like all of like my ego, destination addiction, speed stuff just falls away. And I get so present to the like, what's the rush?
And I could really see this being beneficial. I'm trying to like, I kind of have a couple big transitions of my day every day. So there's like the I'm sitting down to start my work transition, like out
Yep.
of mom and morning routine and all that. I have my transition of, wrapping up here and then going to pick my daughter up from school and, going back into mom mode. Then there's kind of the post dinner hour before family time transition. And I'm seeing that I bet if I were to just take 3 minutes during those three transitions each day and
Yeah.
do this, that it would likely make that. Because right now, my solution is always like, I just try and create 20 minutes of not doing something before the next transition. But that's not as proactive as saying, I am taking 3 minutes for
Mhm.
this breath work.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
maybe I don't need the 20 minutes of transition time
You won't.
anymore.
I promise you won't. And even like when we have the 20-minute transition and it's not intentional, we feel it. I mean, I do.
Yes. I mean, and I don't know what I'm doing with it, but I'm proactively going, I'm not trying to wrap up a task and run out the door, right? I'm giving
Yeah.
myself space, but it's not very intentional space. And so
Yeah.
I love thinking about maybe using it for that as well.
It's yeah, you'll 3 minutes on it with a top hold and like maybe like a 1 minute just like pausing after the breath work. It'll be such a shift. Like we have home offices, my husband and I. And so when I got out of this office, I do that 3 minutes because when I'm in CEO go mode, like more of like my masculine, and then I meet him in that, he's like, why am I living with a dude? Like, what's happening? Right. So, like,
I think our
I'll,
houses are very similar.
yes. And so I do my breath work. I get back into my heart. I'm like leave the work in the office and then I go out and then I'm in like more like wife mode.
Oh, I'm so excited to try this. And I know for our listeners that have, shared, maybe the meditation, the yoga, whatever, just they're not finding their jam with it. I think this is going to be something anyone can commit to saying, well, I mean, I can try anything for 3 minutes, right? And at least the research
Mhm.
I've done prior to our chat here today and talking with people that I know have used breath work, they have all said that they had the same experience you did, which was the very first time they did it after a couple of minutes, they instantly noticed something. So I don't think
Yeah.
this is something where we have to commit to going, well, I'm going to try
Right.
it for 30 days and see if I
Totally.
feel any different.
So my favorite story about this, the efficiency and the immediacy of breath work is this story. I was teaching breath work at a maximum security prison in Northern California about 4 years ago. And I was brought in to teach breath work to the inmates who are going to be in prison for life. And it was myself and 30 men. And I got in there and they sort of looked at me and they're like,
What's
what
this
is
chick going to
this?
do? Yeah.
What's this kid from Southern California gonna teach me about shit, right? So I I sort of like set the scene and I did the breath work and we did about 20 minutes. So it was like quite a deep one. At like the 8 to 10 minute mark, every single one of them was crying. Like there was tears down their face. And at the 20-minute mark, once we like completed and I brought everyone back, it just makes me emotional every single time I tell the story, but like the look on their face and like the connection between each of them was insane. It was extraordinary. And this one man came up to me and he just looks at me. He was bald with tattoos all over his face and he's like crystal blue eyes. And I'll never forget this. And he just looks at me and he says, if I knew how to do that, I wouldn't be here right now. He's like, that's the first time that I've ever felt my heart. And so it just speaks to the immediacy and the efficiency of this practice. You don't need to have any prerequisite. You don't need to wait for it to work. It doesn't have to be something
Guys, you
that
don't have to buy an app or a tool or a journal or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
No purchase required.
Yeah. Like just breathe. Like even just taking one, even that, we got married a couple months ago, and one of the things that I did throughout we had like this crazy 4-day wedding. And one of the things I did throughout the entire 4 days, because everyone was like, it goes so quick. I'm like, I want to take these deep intentional breaths and I want to like soak the energy into every single one of my cells. And I just want to like feel the experience and let it like really land in my body. And it just took like one deep breath and like soaking in that energy. And it just like, it helps us not miss the point.
Oh my goodness. I am genuinely like ecstatic to bring this practice into my life, because I'm like, I know I can do that. And I think for a lot of our listeners, if you relate to the go, high achieving, I like to get stuff done, I think even you can be nodding in your head right now and going, okay, I can do that.
Yeah, totally.
I cannot thank you enough for being here and sharing this with us today. I think this is a proven tool for truly bringing harmony into our lives, 100%.
Yeah.
Now, where can people, if they are interested in learning more and diving deeper into this, where can people connect with you and learn more?
Yeah, come say hi to me on Instagram. Let me know that you found me here. And I answer all of my DMs. I check them every single day. And then I can sort of guide you. Give me a little insight on like what you want. I can guide you to breathwork tracks. I can guide you to like just deeper learning. We do live events all the time. So if you want to come to like an online live event or an in-person live event, the main thing that we do at Paths is we train people to become breathwork facilitators. So if you are someone who wants to bring this practice into your work, let me know and I can direct you there. But come say hi and
I'll put your link in the show notes. But what is your Instagram handle for people?
Samantha Skelly, just my first and last
just
name.
Samantha Skelly. Easy peasy. Yeah. All right. And it's Skelly with a K, everyone. Skelly. So, well, thank you so much, Samantha. It has been a real pleasure.